My name is Nagaki, and I identify as gay.
Do you agree with the statement that some people are born with their sexuality choice? If not, at what age do you think it is appropriate for one to determine the pressing question? What age is too young, if any?
I do believe people are actually born with their sexuality, and it is also something that develops over time. It's more of a brain chemical instead of genetics, but genetics are expressed through the way the environment around them presses upon them. So in that sense, you are born with your sexuality. It's just a matter of, people bloom at different times and people take different times to actually, come to their own and find themselves. I didn't really know until I was about 19 years old, but I could point back to points in my childhood and say, yeah, like that definitely be a time I could point back and say, I could have identified as gay, or if I was more open with myself, I could have seen myself going that direction at an earlier point. But I do believe most people are born with it.
Do you feel like Christians dislike/hate you because of your orientation? Have any Christians ever shown you love despite this?
I was actually born and raised Catholic. My mom is a Catholic from Texas. My dad is Japanese and he's from Nebraska, but he converted to Catholicism about 10 years before I was born. And for me, it's never been about a religion because all religion speaks love and all religion pushes love into the world. It's how people interpret that religion and it's how people enforce that religion. And I have plenty of Christian friends. I've had plenty of Christian people in my life who endorse, only love and respect for me. And I think if anything, hate in itself is not spread by a religion, but it's spread by person to person. And it just depends on who it is.
Are you more feminine than heterosexual men?
I would say I'm more comfortable with my femininity. I feel like heterosexual men have this expectation of how much masculinity they should hold and how much femininity they're allowed to show because most of our society presses upon people that you're required to show this level of power and this level of respect from other people based on how strong you are and that sort of thing. But as someone who's gay, I feel like there's less pressure on that, right? Because I'm not forced. I'm already living outside of society standards, so why would I be forced into that masculinity? So I do feel like I've been given a pass, if anything, because I feel more comfortable with my femininity, and I feel like a lot more people should be that way. It's just the way our society presses it on people.
Are you happy?
I like to think so. I think a lot of years I lied to myself and I didn't really love myself the way I should have. And for me, coming out, originally when I came out, it was the question of would I be happier if I was straight? And at first I would answer yes, because it's easier. Your parents accept you more, everyone around you doesn't think of you as different, and you're just happy being part of the status quo. But as you grow into it and as you find who you are and become more of yourself, I have never been happier in my entire lifetime.
Do you believe there is a long spectrum of sexual orientation?
Yes, most definitely. There's not a name for everything, and the more you try to name things, it gets really difficult. I start thinking about it like in terms of at Home Depot when you have those color sticks, right? The little color strips that range in different colors. If you had a color strip for every single color across the spectrum of colors, you would have like 20 Home Depots just filled with paint strips, right? And so in the same way, a human's mind isn't connected exactly the same way as like 20% of the other part of the population, right? And so everyone is built on these different levels, and there's definitely different places across the spectrum where people land on their sexuality. And there's definitely a couple interesting studies you should look at that actually describe how masculinity, femininity, and sexuality all play together across this large spectrum. And I highly suggest people look into it more because it definitely is a spectrum.